welcome everybody to this week's Market Share, the short weekly segment brought to you by MKR, where we bring you all the noteworthy news and updates surrounding digital media and the world today. I'm your host Genevieve, and we've got some interesting stories for you today, so let's get started. First up, Meta has announced that they will be testing out Meta Verified on both Facebook and Instagram, much like the verification scheme on Twitter. The new verification will give certain creators, the ones who are willing to pay for it, increased visibility and reach, as well as increased account support for $11.99 per month on the web or $14.99 on iOS and Android. The issue is that verification should really only go to accounts that are deemed noteworthy, and once you can buy verification, it doesn't really mean anything anymore. The only other things that come with the package to lure creators to spend their money are custom stickers and 100 free stars so that they can support other creators, which doesn't seem like such a great deal to me. Many Facebook users won't even consider getting verified because who could justify $144 a year unless your profile is your actual business? Once you start giving additional features that should be available to all, like account support, you may actually be more likely to drive away users, especially considering that now they may have even more influencer content that they don't care about on their feed. Next up, let's get into the podcasting industry and talk about what the industry-wide slowdown means for advertisers. Although it may seem as though the podcast industry is just adding more and more noise, layoffs, budget cuts, and fewer acquisitions by major players would suggest otherwise. Tech industries across the board have seen cutbacks over the last few months, and many podcast platforms may have tried to grow too much before their infrastructure could really handle it to attempt to stay relevant in the game, which is now coming back to bite them. It seems like everyone and their mother has a podcast now, even if the number of listeners doesn't actually justify the cost of making one. But podcast advertising can be extremely helpful when it comes to advertising, because they have such niche groups of people that are easily reachable and capable of being influenced with the correct messaging. So now, as platforms are picking up fewer and fewer podcasts, we'll have to see whether advertisers have to fight harder and pay more for advertising within podcasts on major platforms, or if costs get lower so that the major platforms can continue to gradually grow the business at a more manageable speed. Third up today, Instagram is testing out two new features of note that we'll dive into, the first of which is broadcast channels. These channels are a way for creators and brands to reach their followers through direct messaging, to keep them updated on product launches, tour dates, or any big news they have to share with their community of followers. Once a creator or a brand creates the channel, it will send out a one-time join link to all followers, and then to follow up, they can use a join channel sticker on their story. They can also put the link in their bio and pin it to join the channel so that new followers can always get the latest updates. Now that I've explained what it can do, I want to be very clear that basically any of this information could already be shared via stories or feed posts. Understandably, creators and brands want to find every channel they can to reach their followers. But this just seems like an extremely unnecessary feature, and honestly, it seems like a lot more work for creators to keep up with their channels. We'll see how effective they actually are, and if this is just the next Instagram feature to get sunsetted right behind live shopping. The other new Instagram feature we wanted to bring up today is actually something we're pretty excited about, which anyone could tell you at our agency given how many GIFs we use on a daily basis. Instagram is now testing out letting people post GIFs in comments to express themselves better and to add another layer of dynamic content to the app. All you need to do is tap the Add Comment button and then tap the GIF button to search for and select a GIF. Watch out, world, because MKR will be coming for you with our GIF game. Our fourth story today is about how social media marketing compared to traditional ads for the Super Bowl. I know we've all seen the list of how expensive Super Bowl advertising has gotten over the last 20 years. And I feel like at this point, unless you're a massive brand, it's hard to justify that much money, especially when your ad isn't even part of a campaign, which was the situation for many of the ads we saw this year. Super Bowl 57 boasted 113 million live TV viewers, and the hashtag Super Bowl 57 on TikTok alone garnered 225 million views, which just shows that you should have multiple touch points secured for any ad placement if you really want to reach the maximum number of the correct audience. As we saw during the Olympics last summer, people were scrolling on their phones throughout the game, So the connection between what they're seeing on their phones and what they see on the screen is even more important. And honestly, consistent advertising on social media is significantly less expensive than the $7 million spot that you paid to run once during the game. Especially when you think about all the activations you could have with the multitude of celebrities used in the commercials. The possibilities are endless, and the ROI could be a lot higher if you play your cards right. Doritos is a great example of how to do this effectively. Yes, they paid for 60 seconds of airtime during the game, but they also activated their TikTok influencers, meaning the brand could have run the same campaign 12 times before reaching the reported cost of buying a 30-second spot during the game. Seems like a no-brainer to me. That's all for this week's Market Share. My name is Genevieve, and I'll see you all next week. Our first